Welcome back to Midco Sports Tonight. Here with Ryan Deal, writer from the Mitchell Daily Republic. Great to have you here, Ryan.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to talking some hoops.
This guy is a definite must follow on Twitter if you like high school basketball. First of all, you have to love basketball. Just by following you can tell.
Oh, absolutely. I love basketball, and I love this time of year. This is my favorite time of the year when we're going to get into the postseason and state tournaments. So let's let the fun begin.
All right. Well, Ryan does a great job covering high school hoops. We're going to talk a little bit about high school hoops. But first, let's talk about the change we did in rankings this year as media members. In the past, I know that KSFY had their rankings, different media outlet had their rankings, the writers had their rankings. I just did my own on my own, and this year we're kind of all together, and you're one of the spearheads of this new method. Talk about how this all came into being.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was some people kind of pitched the idea of just having one. You know, we had numerous polls, and it's just better just to have one universal one between sports writers, radio and TV, and we have close to 30 people that vote, and it gives us a much better indication of the teams throughout the state because we have people voting from West River and East River. So I tally the votes every Monday, and it's something I really look forward to, and I really enjoy doing it.
Have you noticed anything about the rankings this year? Anything maybe that other people are influencing other people but with their votes, or is it just a good compilation of?
I think it's a good compilation of people. Like I said, with people from all parts of the state, it really gives us a good indication of who's good and who's not. So I think it's really a bonus for South Dakota sports.
All right. Well, we're on to our last week of regular season basketball coming up in this next week, which means the last week of rankings. But what it does mean is the playoffs are right on the horizon, and a big change everybody's talking about this year in the playoffs is the Sweet 16 or Round of 16 format. I don't know, what do you call it? The Sweet
Round
16?
of 16.
The Round of 16 format. Just for people who don't know, let's get them up to date on what this means for South Dakota hoops this year.
Well, for one, I think it's a positive. I wrote a piece the other day about this. I think it's absolutely great for South Dakota that we've gone to this. If people that don't know, just a quick breakdown. You have 8 regions, and those regions get played out until you get 2 remaining teams in each region, and then you reseed them 1 through 16. And so a team could play a team from West River, East River, all throughout the state, but at the same time, you could play a team within your own region.
Right.
So I think it's absolutely great for South Dakota. I mean, the old system, let's be honest, it was probably not working in some cases. So I absolutely love the Sweet 16. At first I was kind of skeptical about it, but I think it's absolutely great for South Dakota.
Yeah, there's been years where you've had 1 or 2 2 really good teams, sometimes 3 really good teams come out of the same region, and they just wouldn't be able to make it to state. This year we could have instances where really we have 2 teams that maybe aren't even in the state tournament, but might be facing each other in the championship game.
Absolutely. Like in volleyball, what we saw with Warner and Northwestern, 2 teams that 15 miles apart, and every year just knocked each other out in the district championship, which was fortunate for me because I was able to see some of those matches, but unfortunate for the rest of the state because nobody got to see that in front of a live state audience. Well, this year it happened out in Rapid where they played for the championship, and it was a great match. Northwestern won, and that's what we could see this year with basketball.
So last year in basketball, we did see this on the state A level, but now B is joining in, Double A is joining in. Speaking of Double A, I mean, every year we probably go through this. You've been in Aberdeen and Mitchell. You've been around Double A communities. It's always wide open, but does this year seem a little bit more wide open than usual?
It really does, because I think with the resurgence of the Rapid City schools, Rapid City Stevens and Rapid City Central, because they were 1 and 2 not too long ago and they played. I think with those 2 teams, the resurgence of those into the mix here, and you got to think of Harrisburg. I mean, Harrisburg is still kind of relatively new to Double A, so that's a team we don't necessarily think about a lot of times in Double A, and they're right up there. And a team like Aberdeen Central, they're playing really well down the stretch here. So I absolutely think it is wide open this year in Double A.
I think, our preseason polls sometimes do a disservice because a team like Aberdeen Central was ranked #1 coming into the season, didn't get off to a great start, but coming down the stretch, what do they won 5, 6 in a row?
Something like that.
And they're really beating a lot of really good teams. So I think they're able to take anybody out. I think Yankton is a team that you have to watch out for that could take some teams out. And then, of course, O'Gorman's starting to surge right now too. They're taking teams. I mean, it's anybody's guess. Do you have a guess for?
I really don't. I really don't. I really think that in the end it could very well be a Sioux Falls team that wins it. I mean, some of those teams have kind of beating up on each other throughout the year, but when it comes right down to it, it's usually a Sioux Falls team that's right in the mix. So I would say a Sioux Falls team, Harrisburg, or look out for Aberdeen Central too.
I think it could be great, and like you mentioned, having Rapid City teams in this race just makes the whole state kind of tie together a little bit better. And I've had a chance to watch them a little bit this year. I think both of those two teams are very solid. If you watch Rapid City Central and their backcourt, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch them, they are dynamite in the backcourt. If they're hitting their outside shots, they can beat anybody in the state as well. So I'm really looking forward to boys AA, maybe more than any other class.
Absolutely. And now with the Rapid City teams, they got to prove it.
They got to prove it. Next step.
We've
heard this story before. We've had some good teams come out of West River, but you're right. They also need to go to that next level.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. This is now Sweet 16. This is their chance, prove it.
Well, in AA with the Sweet 16, I think that's going to matter more than any class because this literally is a state tournament that starts a week early, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. That's what's so great about it.
Yeah, so we're going to see how those matchups pair out here with the next week of the regular season. Another class I wanted to talk to you specifically about is Boys B. Now, this is a class almost all year long. We've talked about Bridgewater Emory and Sully Butte. And now toward the end of the year, those two teams have really risen to the top, haven't they?
They really have, And Bridgewater Emory, they played just a tough schedule. They played 3 games and 3 nights at the Mike Miller Classic, and one of the teams that they played was T-Area, which T-Area won the state championship last year. Obviously a very good team, but now as you see as the season goes along, Bridgewater has picked up some nice wins. They beat Parker, they beat some other good B teams as we've really gone along here. So Bridgewater Emory, I really think is probably the team to beat. And they added Cole Gaspin, who tore his knee in football, and he's back, and he just gives them just another dimension. And they have a couple big guys that are really playing well for them. So I definitely would think they'd be the favorite. But like you said, Sully Butte, they only lost once this season. That was against Dakota Valley, which obviously another good A team. Yeah. So I think those two would be the 2 teams to beat. But watch out for Clark Willow Lake, White River, Canastota. Any of those teams could maybe make a push late in the season.
Now you're around Bridgewater Emory. I mean, that's one of the communities that you cover. Last year they went undefeated and rolled to it. Had so many players back. They had to be coming in with a ton of confidence this year. But they've got a couple of losses. What do they think about that?
Oh, absolutely. They did come with a lot of confidence. But I think they wanted to play a tougher schedule. And they got some losses, but I think they're better because of it. And you see guys really stepped up in absence of Cole Gassman. And some of their big guys have really just developed nicely this season. And, these guys are battle tested. They played, the state championship game last year, and they were down 13 to Wolsey Weston and came back and won. So these guys really definitely know how to win.
All right. Well, you obviously cover a lot of teams around your area. Give us a little refresher of the teams in your area and what they're looking forward to here in the next month.
Well, we just talked about Bridgewater Emory, so we'll kind of push them aside.
We got their coverage for the day.
Canastota, I saw them. The first game of the season, they lost to Bridgewater Emory. Bridgewater Emory just was on a whole nother level that night. But Canastota has really pieced together a nice season as we've gone along here. So I definitely think Canastota would be a team to maybe kind of keep your eye on a little bit as we get going here.
How about Mitchell? I mean, we know the boys haven't put a win together yet this year, but the girls have really resurged a little bit here this year.
Yeah, the girls really have. The girls not too long ago beat Harrisburg. Yeah. And Harrisburg is obviously a very good team. And they played with Aberdeen Central and only lost to them by 1 or 2 and had a shot late that could have won it for them. So Mitchell girls, I could see them, depending on their draw in the Sweet 16, could definitely be a tough out for somebody.
That could be. Any other teams in your area that you're looking for to maybe make a state tournament, maybe McCook Central?
Oh, that's right, yep. They have one of the better players in all of Class A basketball, and Morgan Kepsel, who's going to Black Hill State. She's definitely a player to keep an eye on. And Platte Geddes, I know they moved up to A this year. They're always a team. Frank Cutler, when it gets to be postseason time, they're always a team that's going to give somebody fits whenever it gets to be postseason.
Well, we're already underway on the playoffs. They started Monday, continued yesterday, and then Thursday we got a full slate of games where things really start to get interesting. This is now the girls A and the girls B that are already underway. Let's talk a little bit about the girls' lower classes. Anything in particular that really you want to talk about as far as girls A or B?
Well, for B, I really think you've seen 3 teams that have kind of risen kind of to the top with Warner, Sully Butte, and Faith. Now, Faith is a team that we don't know
Are they for
a lot
real?
about. I hear they're for real. I've heard from a couple different coaches, and I've heard with my West River connections, I've heard from people that say Faith is legit. But now it goes back to the Rapid City teams. They got to prove it. I mean, if they get to the state tournament, I mean, they don't want to be playing for 8th place. I mean, they got to prove it, and hopefully this is the year maybe they could prove some people wrong. Sully Buttes, I mean, they lost 2 very good players off of last year's team. And
I want to talk to you about Sully Buttes. Now, we've seen them at #1 in the rankings. I personally have not been voting for them. I just think the strength of schedule hasn't been there, and then they did take a loss. What do you think about the Sully Buttes?
I think Sully Buttes is for real. I mean, they're very well coached by Mark Seffner. He does just a great job. And he lost those 2 good players from last year, but everybody else played in the state championship game last year. And this goes back to some of these other teams we're talking about. They are battle tested. I mean, they have people that have stepped up as the season has gone along. And then Warner Girls. Warner Girls picked up a nice win over Belle Fourche earlier in the season. And Lori Rogers, she scored 44 in that game or something. So watch out for Warner, too,
as we get going. And they lost one of their best players, and they're still in
and they have good guards. Yeah, Warner will be right in the mix.
Yeah, definitely. So girls B is going to be interesting. Girls A, we've had St. Thomas More win it 4 times in a row, and now they've got a little test with even a team in their own backyard with Belle Fourche.
And it goes back to what we were talking about before, the Sweet 16. You had Warner Northwestern playing in the state championship. This year we could see Belle Fourche and St. Thomas More play for a state championship, which would be great, So I think St. Thomas More and Belle Fourche, McCook Central, Montrose, like you said, could definitely be some teams to keep an eye on for A girls.
So much to talk about, so little time. Thank you for joining us today, Ryan. A must follow on Twitter. We will be back with some more coverage of USD SDSU women's basketball right after this.